All right, I think we're recording here. Hey, this is Jason Eubanks from Nomada, local Kansas City production company. And then also on the phone, we have Jason Cole from Nice One, who is affiliated with Doomsday, a global production company. And we're super excited to have them in Kansas City area. Jason, do you want to give a quick intro for yourself?
Yeah, thanks so much. Jason Cole, like you said, I'm executive producer at Doomsday Entertainment in Los Angeles and also at Nice One Productions in Austin, Texas. So we did a Apple Beats commercial that brought us to Kansas City, and it was a smashing success.
Absolutely. And we were super excited to have his team. Obviously, they travel the world, doing different productions in different areas, cool areas. And we'll kind of talk about a little more of maybe how this kind of came about, why his team was here, why the artist was here, A$AP Rocky. Then, obviously why Apple Beats was here to film a commercial in Kansas City. We also tagged along a music video with A$AP Rocky for that as well. So we have a few questions we can sort through, and we'll throw in some other tidbits as we sort through that as well. So the first thing we had is just overall, just the city of Kansas City. Obviously I'm from here. I'm from Kansas City, so is Nomada, my production company. So I'll throw some tidbits there, but I also just want to ask Jason, overall, like, what was his first impression of the city? Did he have any kind of hesitations and potentially filming the commercial here, or just overall impressions of, how Kansas City was to do a big production like this?
Yeah, and as you said, I've shot all over the world, and Doomsday is based out of Los Angeles. I lived in Los Angeles for 16 years and did a lot of production there, which is obviously one of the primary film hubs in the country and in the world. So going to smaller markets, you always want to protect yourself a little bit, be able to bring a lot of people you can trust, bring your core team, your core crew. So having never shot in Kansas City before, I wouldn't want to say I was hesitant, but at the same time, I needed to do a lot of research and figure out who do I need to bring, how much of the core team, how much already exists within the city, what kind of filming infrastructure that I wasn't previously educated on. So, so especially with this particular job, being that it was a big art job, it was a massive art build, we didn't know what we would be able to pull off in Kansas City versus what you can pull off in LA. Sometimes, you may only get $4 days to prep a job in Los Angeles, and you have all these set builders and all these set shops and scenics and everything that can turn something around super quick. But in the smaller markets, it's not always that way. So yeah, there was a bit of a learning curve, but I was pleasantly surprised to find that there was quite a bit of infrastructure and there was quite a bit of seasoned crew, and we were able to fly the minimum amount of people, just a few department heads, and find the majority of the crew locally.
Yeah, that's what I was really appreciative as well. Just working with you in the pre-production area was, you guys asked, what do we have for gear in Kansas City? What do we have for talent with regards to, extras or models, as well as from the pre-prod and the art department. Was you guys asked the questions instead of just coming in and saying, hey, we do this in different cities, we're going to bring that same team. You ask, hey, who should we use? And obviously, we all use our different connections. Doomsday and Nice One had different connections as well. But just asking that question alone, I think shows that, you guys were trying to really dive in for the culture itself in the city, but also just show respect to the local talent, which was awesome to see.
Well, yeah, and to build on that too, you get a better product creatively when you can work with the local crew and local culture, and that's just the reality. It's a dirty little secret because everybody wants to keep their jobs and travel around with the traditional crew that they work with. The DP wants his ACs and his gaffer and his grip, and the art department wants, the production designer wants his art director and his lead man and all that stuff. And and the production, obviously, you have a tight-knit group of production people that you work with, and you want to bring as many of those people as possible. However, when you work with the local infrastructure, you tend to get more tapped into the market, more tapped into what's available. You get a better, camaraderie on set because everybody knows each other, and you're not, coming in and kind of trying to take over and doing it your way. Instead, you're embracing the local way of doing things, and I think that, in my experience, that turns out to be the better product.
Yeah, and any last minute items with regards to gear or just additional resources from a team local people know best, right? And we don't have to wait for people to fly in. So that was cool to see. That kind of leads us into the second question with regards to ease of doing production in Kansas City. I know you've kind of hit on it a little bit more with regards to, we do have the resources here. We do have the art teams. We do have the production talent. We also have the artist talent, and we also have gear as well. But just kind of talk more about like the city itself, like logistically. You mentioned doing work in LA and different cities around the world, but flying into our new airport that we just built and everyone's super proud of, or navigating around Kansas City itself, coming through maybe the fields of farmland, and then finally come into a city and being like, oh wow, there's a lot of cool stuff here. So just the logistically, your impressions and opinion doing production work in Kansas City.
Yeah, well, first of all, the airport's awesome. Yeah, it's great. I'd never been to the old airport, but the new airport is awesome. So it was nice to arrive to that. No, I'd say the biggest thing, and it sounds a little silly, but getting around town is easy in Kansas City. Again, coming from Los Angeles, it's like it takes an hour to drive 5 miles. So just being able to zip around town, it didn't matter if all the vendors were right next door to each other. The art department could shop in different places, could kind of go thrift shopping and whatnot. Getting to the location, we would go to the location. We went there all the time, far more than we would typically go to a location, just because it was so easy to just jump in and out. So I'd say getting around town, both for the job and for just entertainment and restaurants and nightlife and whatnot, was a big thing to me. I'd wondered out loud. It was like, is it always this quiet in terms of traffic and accessibility, which is totally a good thing. I was excited to be a part of that. So
yeah, can you give some impressions? Just the larger team, right? Did they enjoy their time in Kansas City? Did they really dive into the local culture? Just any thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's everybody really enjoyed their time because we were staying at the Crossroads Hotel and working out of there, and it's a great hotel. And we took over that lobby pretty much every single day and worked from the lobby, worked from the rooftop and everything. Just that whole Crossroads area was really fun. Reminded me a lot of the Arts District in Los Angeles, which to me is the best part of downtown Los Angeles. So, it felt like a kind of an up and coming, everything was aesthetically pleasing down there. It was, like I said, very easy to get around, and lots of good restaurant choices too. So every night we had something good to go out to eat. I will say, living in Austin, the barbecue is not better than Austin, but
we'll clip that piece out.
I was gonna say, should have edited that out, but
yeah. I love hearing just from a logistical standpoint of just the comparisons of doing work in LA, a big production city like that. And that's why a lot of people like living here in general, right? And I think that reflects on doing work here as well, bringing in tons of people that might not be from here, being able to navigate the city, being able to go to the areas we were shooting, which predominantly was in the West Bottoms, is obviously very close to the Crossroads area as well. But it was a big piece. It made our lives a lot easier, right? And no one wants to spend hours in a car, but we were spending very minimal time, and allowed us to actually put our heads together or just be on set more.
Yeah, and just to follow up on that, it's true that typically when you're location scouting, when you choose a location and getting the whole crew there to do any kind of technical scout, things like that, it maybe happens one time. After you have your select, maybe happens one time that you get the whole crew there before you end up shooting. And this was such a unique project because we went there every day. It was 5 minutes away, and it was very easy to get around town. So the whole crew would come meet us there, and we were constantly able to supervise, the art build on the street and whatnot. So it felt like it didn't feel like the city was working against us in terms of adding additional time and logistics to the workflow.
Yeah, no, I love that. And just to summarize, so most of the shooting, actually 100% of the shooting was done in the West Bottoms for the commercial and the music video as well. Most of the crew and staff stayed in the Crossroads Art District. Some people were in a couple of hotels in the downtown area. But the shooting, once again, was all in the West Bottom. So a major shout out to some of the local business owners and property owners in the West Bottoms that really made it possible and made it easy to work with. We had to change a couple different sites, a couple of days before actually shooting. For a couple of different reasons, but it was awesome to be able to come together as a community. Once again, being from local Kansas City, seeing these buildings that we, just see on a day-to-day basis, but we were able to reimagine and repurpose them into something extremely beautiful. But shout out to some of the local property owners, Samara Road, a local development company. We used their building for a couple shots, as well as the green room for the artist itself. Shout out to the business owners on the St. Louis Street who are easy to work with, as well as the city in general. We used a lot of public streets that we had to work with, the Kansas City Film Commission, as well as the permitting group to actually get those permitted to be able to use. And then we also worked with local, road closure companies. Roadrunner was specifically who we worked with to actually do the road closure plans, as well as to give the materials to close the roads as well. So the other shout out for the location, especially for the commercial, was Maria down on the Union Avenue as well. So I think that was pretty much most of the locations for the music video and the commercial. For the music video, we used a lot of public streets in the West Bottoms area. So thank you for all that team for making that easy to permit, make changes on the fly. As we all know, things come up, and we're trying to make the best product possible. So it's awesome to have partners and as well as a city that's can get things through quickly if we have to make any changes. Yeah. Okay, I think that kind of summarized most of the locations. So the next one,
I will say too, just quickly about West Bottoms. I mean, it's logistically it was a dream, but on top of that, creatively, I mean, I don't know a lot of areas that look like that. That's a special place, and I know Nomada is located down there, and you guys are kind of the heartbeat of that area, and really fit into that aesthetic. And it was beautiful, and it was cool to be, to create something down there in an otherwise seemingly untapped market.
Yeah, and the goal for this is for it not to be too untapped anymore, and to us to do more work here. Hopefully having you back. Let's kind of talk about, I know we touched on a little bit more earlier, but the capability of the crew in Kansas City, as well as the capability of the actors. You kind of alluded to before, coming in, not being familiar with the city, being of the thought of, well, maybe we need to bring in, our teams that we've been dealing with, and maybe we need to bring in the actors and talent. But I think you're pleasantly surprised for what you did find here with regards to production assistants, as well as art team assistants, and just, local talent from models and actors.
Yeah, I'd say specifically, speaking to crew first, as you said, the production support and the art support, those were the two big things that, having never shot in Kansas City, we knew this was going to be a big production. We knew we were going to need a lot of support there, a lot of infrastructure. Originally, I thought we were going to have to bring a good portion of the art department, which wouldn't have served the project. Because specifically with art department, when you're sourcing lumber and like you're sourcing props and things like that, those things are not going to get trucked in from Los Angeles necessarily. So you need a good local team for that. And luckily, we had a really good local team, and I believe you put us in touch with that team. So it was, again, production support as well, and it's everything. Really, everybody was pulling their weight, and there was no need to fly a big crew out. And like I said originally, you kind of always need to do a little bit of research on that up front of how big of a team do we need to bring, and you try to keep it minimal. And specifically for this project, I think it helped us quite a bit to rely, because it was such a local project with West Bottoms and with the spirit of Kansas City being so involved in both the commercial and the video. So I think that was the way to go.
Yeah. And shout out to the local art department leads, especially for the commercial piece, to help build out the street, the Corys, as they're known, and we can provide their full names after this. So that was cool to hear. And I believe the talent from a model and actor standpoint were pretty much sourced here as well, correct, for the commercial?
Yep, they were all sourced there. And the casting director, whose name escapes me right now,
Wright and Laird. So Heather Laird was who we used.
Heather Laird, yes. Yeah,
Yep.
She was great. She was super on top of it. I'd say she was right there with the casting directors that I work with in Los Angeles. And
So,
she had her finger on the pulse for sure of who is available locally, and had everybody excited about it, and everybody, readily available. So that was awesome.
yeah, and we used Heather, so Right and Laird, also from the music video standpoint as well. So big shout out to her. She was awesome. From the Nomada side, we pulled in a lot of our own just, contacts and team and following that we have, but she was able to wrangle the troops on production days, which was a super help. And then she also brought in some additional talent from a model standpoint. I think for the music video, we actually sourced everyone here in Kansas City too. So it's cool to see local faces and local names really contributing to big productions done here in Kansas City. So we gave a shout out. We talked about the art department. We talked about casting models and artists. Then from the crew standpoint, you touched on production assistants as well as the art team. So I think that primary covers all of it. From gear standpoint, I know we used a couple of different gear houses in town, Lights On being one of them.
Yeah, Lights On was the big one.
Yeah. I think you tried to source as much gear in Kansas City as you could, correct?
Yeah, I believe the camera came from Los Angeles because the DP had a specific package that he liked to work with a vendor in Los Angeles. But accessories for the camera and pretty much everything else, film gear wise, lights, gripping, everything came from locally from Kansas City, and specifically Lights On.
Yeah, and for the music video piece, we 100% try to source everything here. Big shout out to Lights On once again. A couple of things, I think even our jib was from Lights On as well. So same thing, trying to source locally, and Kansas City really came through on that front. Okay, the last thing we had, you already gave a couple shout outs to some cool things that you were able to participate and enjoy outside of just working while you're here in Kansas City. But yeah, just, the hotels the teams were staying on. So it sounds like most of the staff was at the Crossroads Hotel. And that was used kind of as a central hub where a lot of people were meeting, eating.
And it was great. It was fantastic. I smile because we spent so much time there and so much time in that lobby and at that hotel, and the staff was so cool with us the entire time. They just knew, every morning we'd be posted up at the exact same spot. We made friends with all the servers and hotel staff and everything. Had a beautiful roof with a beautiful view of Kansas City too that we got to go up. And like I said, the whole Crossroads area I was super impressed with. I just thought it was just a cool aesthetic, artsy community that reminded me a lot of some of the best arts districts in many of the cities that I've been to, but kind of more relaxed, a little quieter, in the best way possible. So it's and great food. So I think Corvino was the place that I told you about that I went to multiple times, and that was something special.
Love that. Yeah, Corvino's a great one. Going back to Crossroads Hotel, I mean, we do a lot of work with them. We do love Crossroads Hotel. Very accommodating from a production standpoint. Anytime we know we have artists coming in town, they make sure to make it happen. And obviously we let them know this was coming. So they tried their best to accommodate all the rooms possible. But again, it's not just rooms. It's also, with regards to accommodation on the restaurant and within Crossroads Hotel, but also just meeting spaces and being accommodated to people that need spaces to meet. So big shout out to them. Yeah, restaurants. I know, Jason, you asked for a full list, and I think I gave you many names around town in the different genres of different types of food. But yeah, Corvino, I think Farina and Rudy's, and maybe some West Bottom spot. I think some of the crew stopped at the Lunchbox in town. Have to give a shout out to Crossroads Hotels, Rooftop, which has its own food, but also Lazia, which is the restaurant down in the bottom of Crossroads Hotel. Any nightlife? Were we able to hit any events or anything outside of maybe just restaurants?
Some of the local restaurants and bars in Crossroads, but what I really enjoyed, obviously, when I went out with the crew, a couple of the nights we came down and attended Nomada events in West Bottom, so that was a lot of fun. And again, being part of that community, feeling not only working there, but hanging out with the locals and seeing you guys put on your events there. It's like it was cool to be a part of the community.
Yeah, it was awesome to see everyone, from out of towners, from your guys' standpoint. Obviously, everyone working really hard, but really made a pointed note to also dive into the culture, and some of that is, what we're doing from a Nomada events entertainment piece. We had a big weekend event over that weekend, and the Nice Ones team came through, and it was awesome to see. So big shout out to you guys. Big kudos to you guys for diving in the culture. That's extremely, I think important just to feel the city, to understand the city. So it's cool that you guys see that.
And that's part of traveling. That's part of what's the point of shooting in Kansas City if you're not going to, enrich yourself in the culture. So
yeah. Well, from what I heard, it sounds like the team is more than willing to want to come back and do more work here. But I guess any final thoughts from your perspective?
One thing I was going to add is just having shot a lot in Los Angeles and other big film hubs. I think what gets lost a little bit is the magic of filmmaking, in that, you have a lot of locations that get a bit oversaturated. They get shot a lot. People forget how fun and special this business and this industry is. And there's something about going to smaller markets that the enthusiasm and the way that you're welcomed it brings some of that magic back, and it makes it a lot more fun. So that's not to say anything negative about all the big hubs, in Atlanta and Los Angeles and London and things like that. But there is something. There's a different feeling, and you feel the community embracing you a little bit more in a smaller market like Kansas City. So that was a really enjoyable experience.
I love to hear that. And I can throw a little tidbit on as well. So the artist was A$AP Rocky, who was featured in the commercial. And then obviously it was his music video that was also shot here in Kansas City. And that was a big piece for him, right? Wanting to get out, wanting to do something different than, that's been done a lot in different big cities. And to Jason Cole's point, there's nothing wrong with that. But I think there's something magical when you can come and create something that's never been done before. In a new city, in a new place. And the teams were excited. And, a lot of people put in tons of hours, overnight work, lots of pre-production work, teardown work. And I can say that from the team's perspective and local in Kansas City, that people were still excited, let alone the amount of hours, but to be excited about it because, the magic that you're about to create. And both projects are out. Go check out the commercial, which again was led by Nice One and Jason Cole. Amazing, beautiful work. It's absolutely incredible to see Kansas City in that light. But even the post work, from a creative standpoint, it's an amazing commercial. And then the music video is out as well. I think it just passed 5 million views, which is super exciting. So just to see Kansas City again in that light is something new, something amazing, and all the teams should be super proud. So from my perspective, from the local Kansas Cityan perspective, I'm super proud of the local production teams, the local art teams, the gear houses, the casting agencies, and then the local restaurants and entertainment, as well as the business owners to make this all happen. And I'm super appreciative, and we created magic. So that's all I had here.
Yep. Congratulations to you, man. You did a great job. And Kansas City will be seeing you soon.
Thank you, everyone. Jason Cole, Jason Eubanks, appreciate the time.